everybody? Welcome to the Monkey Knife Fight MLB strategy show. I don't know if you can tell, but it's presented by Monkey Knife Fight. I'm Eric Lindquist. We are going to go through a couple of our favorite props we see over here on the board. Greg and I will. But Greg, first of all, the Mario Golf superstar yourself, how are you doing today?
Listen, this is kind of my third show already today because even though it was combined, we did an MLB strategy show and then also did the live before lock for the early slate and just did those back to back. Shit my money, Adam Schur and I. But then on top of that, also I'm getting a colonoscopy done next week, so I had to get COVID tested for it ahead of time, even though I'm vaccinated, just because that's just policy. So then I'm hosting the show, so I come back from the hospital, go to host the show right before I'm about to start. I had all of my information uploaded into an Excel sheet. And the way I do it also is just the format. I copy and paste it over from yesterday's slate, bring into the new one, and then I just have everything there. And then I just close out the old one. Accidentally deleted today's sheet and left open the yesterday sheet. So we go to start the games. I'm all over the place. I like the pitching matchups. I don't have it in front of me. The matchups don't have that either. So I'm kind of trying to figure it out on the run sheet at the time. And just could not have done a worse job organizationally as we went through the show. The show itself was fine, but I definitely confused the hell out of Tyler while he was producing. And we made it through, but I'm happy you're hosting now.
Yeah, see, sometimes it's pretty easy to sit back, let somebody else be the analyst let somebody else be the host, and then you get to do the analyst side. I really enjoy doing the hosting side here, especially when I have somebody who's as sharp and on it as you are. A spreadsheet or not, I have a feeling that you'll do a pretty good job going through a couple of these, but I've identified 3 plays that I'm playing today over at Monkey Knife Fight. Yesterday was fantastic. Vic David Figueroa there in the chat. I'm glad that you were able to hop in on a couple of those home run picks. Those all worked out very, very well. I mean, picking Shohei Ohtani at this point in time feels a little bit like a cheat code. No, Greg?
Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber, for that matter, although Kyle Schwarber is in the early games. By the way, something else also when we talk about my faux pas from the early slate is since I had the games listed wrong, I had the Mets listed as playing the Nationals and on the main slate, which, by the way, the Nationals are on the early slate, not the main slate, and they're not playing against the Mets. So oh boy, was Adam confused when I asked him about Kyle Schwarber today. But yeah, he has been absolutely rolling. Same as Shohei Ohtani. So Ohtani now has, it's something like 2 games since in the last 3 weeks where he hasn't homered. So yeah, he's been absolutely crushing lately. And also, if you want to get exposure to him as a hitting option, you could do that on Monkey Knife Fight. You know where you can't do that? On FanDuel or DraftKings, where he's only listed as a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And I think that that's kind of what I've identified for my first 2 plays. We're going to the home run derby of the main games. I'm going to be targeting home runs here again. It's been actually pretty profitable. There's been some good hitting weather across the entire major leagues here of late. New York has been no exception to it. I would say the wind's blowing in a little bit here now at this point in time, but it's still 75% humidity, 82 degrees, a little bit cooler than yesterday, but still phenomenal hitting spot here, considering they're starting there at 7:05. Some of the longer days of the summer, so it's going to stay hotter out there longer into the night. But I'm going right back to the well. We can play Shohei Ohtani. I love playing Shohei Ohtani in this spot. The 2 guys that I'm pairing with him that look like the better home run guys to identify across the industry today. Fernando Tatis in Cincinnati. I think it's very understated how big of a ballpark upgrade this is. Petco Park, Parks Adjusted over on Baseball Savant. It is the 24th ballpark in all of baseball, as opposed to Great American Ballpark, which is number 2 in terms of right-handed power. So I love targeting righties everybody I like targeting on San Diego here today. And then the last guy to throw into the mix, Yordan Alvarez, going up against Matt Harvey, who is just absolutely garbage. And we will get to a little bit later. Definitely one of my favorite pitching props, taking less than on his strikeout number as well. But Yordan Alvarez, just a guy who hits the ball very, very hard. Do you have any gripes with any of those 3 picks? Do you want to add one to it, or do you have anything that really sticks out to you about them?
Not really. I'm just looking through and I'm trying to figure out if maybe, because I'm so anti Matt Harvey that I'm just wondering if there's any other player from the Astros that I consider adding in, but I don't think so. It's not the guys like Carlos Correa or Jose Altuve aren't in good spots. It's just I don't think they're more likely to homer than Fernando Tatis or Shohei Ohtani.
Definitely. It's Jordan Alvarez is definitely the power guy. I think it could be a death by a million cuts for Matt Harvey in other spots, but I think Jordan Alvarez, just looking at that entire Astros team, that's the guy I want to go to. Just like you could put Manny Machado, who actually has a bigger hard hit percentage than Fernando Tatis, but the X slugging for Fernando Tatis, 649 as opposed to Machado, 497. I like both of those bats. If you wanted to mix and match, that's another nice way to do it. But taking more than 0.5 home runs between those three feels like a pretty good spot to be in on this slate today. Kind of combining with that, we're going to the fantasy challenge. We're going to the main games once again here. But the fantasy challenge, I'm taking Ohtani and Tatis, but I'm adding in Altuve. And so this is kind of what you're talking about, where if you're not necessarily looking at a home run hitter, I'm looking at Altuve as a guy who's hitting at the top of the order for this potent Astros team that has, an over 6 implied total up against Matt Harvey, who just gives up all the hard contact for 39.7%, doesn't miss bats. The only thing he does is limit walks here a little bit, but this is Jose Altuve and this entire Astros team of 124 WRC plus against righties. I wouldn't mind taking pieces if you wanted to combine them with Tatis, putting together 2 Houston Astros. You can only play 2 of the 3, playing him possibly with Brantley. How do you feel about that?
Listen, Matt Harvey has a 7.54 ERA this year, 11.57 last year, 7.09 the year before. There's no reasonable reason they should still be pitching at the big league level. And frankly, I don't think he'd be able to get minor league hitters out right now. I don't think he could go pitch in Korea and get KBO hitters out. I think that the only place you could maybe find him with some success, we threw him in the Little League World Series this year. Outside of that, I mean, wow. It's, he's just been bad, and he doesn't deserve to continue to get a spot in big league rotation. We're at a point where the Baltimore Orioles, to me, he's made 16 starts this year. Almost none of them have been good. Last start was arguably his most impressive one of the season, because he went, 4 innings against the Toronto Blue Jays and gave up 5 innings against the Toronto Blue Jays, only gave up 3 runs, allowed 2 homers. And a lot of that was hard contact that he just got really lucky against. It was like 3 or 4 balls hit and play against him, worse than a 350 expected batting average. So, Matt Harvey should get hit really hard again. And I want to be all over the Astros for DFS purposes, Monkey Knife Fight, just wherever I'm looking.
So Hilda Brown is in the chat, said that Kyle Tucker has been squaring up balls. Tucker is going to home run today. I think you can definitely try that out over on Monkey Knife Fight for sure. The only thing that I would say where he wouldn't be one of my favorite plays on the entire day is just his batting order. So if you're looking just specifically at the number of at-bats that he's going to get, if he's going to be I believe he was in the 6th hole. That's kind of where he's traditionally been here on this team, behind Correa, Alvarez, Gurriel, Brantley, and Altuve that are ahead of him. If he had a better lineup order, I would feel better about it. For DFS purposes, like on other sites, we're looking at salaries and things like that. Here, we're just looking at who are the best raw plays, who are the most likely players to hit home runs. I think there's a couple of batters that just are hitting higher in the order, but would you ever think about something like that with Kyle Tucker, or are you all in on him anyway?
I mean, all in's a little strong, but yeah.
Would you be in on the play is what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's anybody who's going up against Matt Harvey, as long as, like for purposes of Monkey Knife Fight, I don't think we have to go to anybody, like the Miles Straw or like Martin Maldonado type characters, or whoever ends up starting a catcher today. But, the guys who are actually the good hitters in the Houston order, Altuve, Correa, Jordan Alvarez, Brantley, Kyle Tucker, all of them are sensible.
You in chat. I absolutely love the things that you say in chat, but either way, we're going to continue ourselves on here. My favorite pitching plays of the day, and they're in the same game, which makes it super easy. You can combine pitchers from the games to go more or less than their strikeout props. We're going to Baltimore at Houston. I like Luis Garcia as a real life pitcher. I just think 6.5 is a large number going up against this righty team. Again, Baltimore has traditionally been better against lefties. Cedric Mullins is the one guy who's the lefty at the top of that order, and there are some splits here, but 24.8% K percentage for Baltimore here. Obviously an 84 WRC plus. They're not good whatsoever there, but I just don't know if I see the strikeout potential for 6.5 there. 27.4% K percentage on the season, less than 6.5. It just feels like a hefty number here. And then on the other side, Matt Harvey, 3.5 looks very low to see next to anybody. But as you said, only a 16.8% K percentage on the season up against a Houston Astros team that does not strike out against righties like whatsoever. 19% K percentage, best in baseball. How do you feel about these two plays?
Yeah, I prefer the over for Luis Garcia. The main thing
Oh,
here
okay.
for me is that, well, number one, he's been really good this year, but then also pitch count isn't a concern anymore. So earlier in the season, Luis Garcia had a pretty restrictive pitch count, and I'll pull that up on my phone right now while I'm talking. That really limited the amount of strikeouts in his overall counting stats in games. And that's just not an issue anymore because as he's been more stretched out as the season's gone along, pitches in his last handful of starts 100, 106, one start where he had 79, and then 96 and 96 back to back in each of his last two starts. It's a favorable matchup against the Orioles. The Orioles have also been playing a lot of weekend lineups as of late. And, Luis Garcia, he's had good strikeout stuff. Also, he's been really successful this season when he's been on the mound. So that leads me to think that more often than not, he's going to be working deeper into games, especially now there's no pitch count concerns. 2.83 ERA, 3.22 expected ERA. So Luis Garcia is somebody I like. Matt Harvey, somebody I don't like.
It makes a lot of sense to me. I was going to say, I was trying to identify maybe another couple of pitchers. I have my card kind of set together here. My three plays that I really like there, two hitters. I would like to add another pitching play in. Is there anybody that sticks out on the board to you that you see around Monkey Knife Fight today, around the industry? Any kind of a number that sticks out to you as either being too high or too low that we can identify and try to take advantage of today?
On Monkey Knife Fight, we have Aaron Nola projected, or not projected. The line here is 19 and a half fantasy points. I think more than 19 and a half for Aaron Nola makes sense for Monkey Knife Fight purposes. I don't know if there's been too many times that we've talked about the actual pitching individual fantasy stats on Monkey Knife Fight, so I might as well bring this up. But for Monkey Knife Fight purposes, pitchers minus 3 points for each earned run, plus 1 point for an out, plus 1 points for each strikeout. So it's pretty similar to the FanDuel scoring, just the difference being there's no win bonus, there's no quality start bonus. But 19 and a half fantasy points for Aaron Nola. He's a guy who, everywhere across the industry is going to be super popular today. Everybody is going to flock to Aaron Nola. Favorable matchup at home against the Miami Marlins. Marlins don't have a great offense. So I think there's a pretty high floor here. That and Aaron Nola, if you look at his overall numbers for the season, he's been overall solid. There's been a couple of hiccups. But a start against the Miami Marlins, it's a spot where I think he should have success. Overall, Nola for the year does have a 3.97 ERA, 3.7 expected ERA, strikeout rate up to 28.3%. So actually the second highest mark of his career. So yeah, I mean, Aaron Nola to me, I like over 19 and a half fantasy points.
I like that a lot too. 89 WRC plus 133 ISO for Miami Marlins here. That's third worst in baseball. Definitely a spot where I think he can go deep into this game. I think he'll be racking up some Ks to add a couple extra points there as he's trending up. I mean, we just saw him in his last game. Have you looked at any of his spin numbers? Is he one of the guys that's dropped off or not?
I could look that up while we're talking.
He had 12 Ks in the last outing against the Mets, and that's one of the larger totals. I mean, we saw Yu Darvish mow down a bunch of Dodgers the one day, but I feel like 12 Ks is one of the larger numbers that I've seen out of a pitcher coming out of this spin substance, or this basically ban on substances for pitchers. So I'm just curious, and that was only in 5 1/3. So there is some massive K opportunity for him today.
Yeah, and the matchup couldn't really be any better. There's been a lot of guys also that, even though they have seen a decrease in spin rate, that have still actually, by the way, Aaron Nola last start had the highest spin rate of any. Wait, no, that's because I clicked the wrong year. That's what made that confusing. It is not 2020, it's 2021. But either way, no, his spin rate's actually been really consistent. So the last handful of starts for Aaron Nola, spin rate, average spin rate 2098, 2094, 2127, 2103, and 2090. So it's been basically the exact same for him throughout the season.
All right. That sounds like a good place to be invested then, for sure. Any other pitcher? Because I know that we have the ability to go over to Awesemo. They have the new MLB player props tool. We can look at the strikeout props tool. A couple of the people that really stand out on the top end or other pitchers. You have to play the combination of either two pitchers together from the same game or from that main game section. So it becomes a little bit more intricate to be able to identify maybe a good hitting environment. We could maybe play a combination of fantasy players together. Is there maybe possibly one more spot, just because there are so many advantageous spots to invest in these K props? Definitely want to try to find one or two, maybe more.
Let's see. Let me scroll through some of these guys and see what comes up. Aaronola over, let's see. So Aaronola more or less than 7.5. Oh no, I thought that was fantasy points. It's total outs for Mike Minor. David Peterson, more or less 4.5 hits. I would tend to take the over, more 4.5 for Peterson. I mean, that's a really low number for Peterson, who, this season, he's had some success as a fantasy pitcher just because of his strikeout stuff. But, beyond that, he hasn't been a particularly effective real life pitcher. 4.95 ERA, 5.27 expected ERA. He's giving up a lot of hard contact. It is a really tough matchup against the Atlanta Braves. So I would take over 4.5 hits against David Peterson. It's not hits plus walks, just hits. Control has been a little bit of an issue for him, but he's given up plenty of hits as well.
I like that. And the one I'm going to go to, just to throw one more into the mix, another popular arm, I think, on this slate today, Joe Musgrove going up against Cincinnati, more than 6.5 pitching strikeouts. I think that this is another great pitcher that you should be utilizing. And I think that this is definitely a spot where, against this Cincinnati lineup from the right side of the plate, there's a number of hard hitting lefties. We know Winker's in that lineup. We know that they've got a couple of Votto can get it done as well, but Cincinnati as a whole doesn't strike out a ton. But Joe Musgrove, I just believe in that arm talent so much in this spot. I think that it's still a good spot for him to possibly rack up Ks. And then Vladimir Gutierrez on the other side. That's where I really think the huge benefit is. You're getting paid 3x on your buy-in here in this spot. Give me less than 4.5 for him. Just doesn't really interest me as a real life pitcher. Nothing that I'm looking at really kind of interests me about him. I talked about being very interested in going to the San Diego side of this game with both Tatis and possibly Machado if you wanted to mix him in, but only an 18.2% K percentage on the season. Does limit a little bit of hard contact here and there, but the ball's going up in the air, and I don't know. Against the San Diego team, I could see him having a pretty short stint today.
Yeah, I mean, Gutierrez this year has not been particularly effective. There's been a lot of games that he hasn't worked all that deep into. So, with that in mind, the Padres, I know in our top stacks tool earlier, it was a team that we had as one of the most rostered teams on the entire slate. And, for good reason, Vlad Gutierrez, if you look at his numbers, he does have a 3.97 ERA, but the underlying numbers, 4.67 expected ERA, 4.97 FIP, and also high walk rate, not a lot of strikeouts. The strikeout rate is not even that far off from the walk rate, to be honest. 10.8% walk rate, 18.2% strikeout rate. So, yeah, I'm perfectly good with essentially fading Gutierrez.
And going back to the main games, I think that there's a couple of fun opportunities in this first section of games for the afternoon, or if you're out on the East Coast in the evening, the 7:05 lock time for that. Looking at either the rapid fire. So we have Aaron Nola up against Shohei Ohtani, plus 0.5 pitching strikeouts on this side of it. I have Ohtani for an irrational number of strikeouts. We don't have the opportunity to play him in that New York and Angels game. He's not listed here at the moment. I think that that's just because this is a very, very high upside spot for Ohtani. But playing that rapid fire section here, going up against Aaron Nola, I still think that I like Ohtani. This is going to be a very righty heavy Yankees lineup, and he has some massive splits from lefties and righties here on the season. And Ohtani could just be racking up Ks up and down this entire Yankees lineup. And then total bases going to the Tatis side, considering he's getting a bonus over Manny Machado of plus 0.5 total bases. That's an easy play for me on that one for the rapid fire. And lastly, Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. I mean, if you want to be playing Kyle Tucker on Monkey Knife Fight today, I think that this is a little bit better spot than playing him in a home run derby. He's getting plus 0.5 runs and RBIs over Alvarez. If the table gets set for him, if the Matt Harvey's doing Matt Harvey things, I think getting that little extra bonus over a guy where I think they're pretty split, it's a pretty even matchup between him and Alvarez. I'll take the Kyle Tucker side of it. Do you agree with any of that?
I agree with you on the hitters. I have a difference of opinion on the pitchers. So one issue I have with Ohtani this year, other than that, if you look at his underlying stats, it seems like he's gotten pretty lucky. He does have a 2.58 ERA, 3.52 FIP, 3.33 xFIP. He's had an incredibly easy strength of schedule. Like, he is not pitching against good teams. Last time out against the Giants have had a surprisingly good offense this year, but outings before that, he pitched against the Tigers. He pitched against the Diamondbacks, the Mariners, the Indians. He's pitched against the Rangers twice this year. So the strength of schedule for Ohtani has been so easy this year. And also when you look at some of his numbers, and it does indicate that even though, he's a good starting pitcher, it seems like there's a pretty good chance of regression. And now just the fact that he's facing against an offense in the Yankees who, while they have been disappointing this year, there is still a lot of power upside there. There's obviously still the strikeout potential for Ohtani, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets hit a little bit in the spot either.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just looking at the righty numbers, and I guess with the Detroit Tigers and the Diamondbacks, two teams that stuck out when you said that. I'm just looking at a .92 WHIP up against righties on the entire season, a 1.38 total ERA against that side of the plate, 1.38 WHIP up against lefties. I think that cutter's just a little bit more effective of a pitch against the righties for sure. But I think it's probably close enough. If you want to decide to the Nola side, the other two, I feel so confidently that I like Tatis getting the extra boost and Tucker getting the extra boost that if I'm getting 5x my buy-in, you could pretty much go to either side of that, and you're not going to go terribly wrong at that payout structure.
No, I know. Like I said, on the hitters, I totally agree with you. It doesn't make sense that Tatis is getting points against Manny Machado, so I have to strongly favor his side. I think that's the biggest no-brainer of the ones we went over. The only thing I really disagreed on is I think that Aaron Nola is in a better spot today than Ohtani, pretty significantly.
Right. Yeah, well, so then if you wanted to, you could put $5 on both sides of that. You could go to Ohtani and Nola, so you can't go wrong. That would be what, 2.5x your buy-in? Am I doing the math correct on that?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to say yes.
Divided by 2. I can do rudimentary math. This is exciting. I work for a data analytics company. It's fine. Don't mind me. Anything else that we really want to touch base on? We've got a couple more minutes here. If you're in the chat and you maybe have a play that you think sticks out, let us know. We can take a look at it for you. We have the opportunity to do such things here in the last couple of minutes, but we have some of the earlier games going here. We're not going to be looking at that too much. Give a little bit of a shelf life to this. Taking a look. I'm a Minnesota Twins fan, so we can head over there and take a look at Bailey Ober and Dylan Cease, another spot where I think that we can possibly be looking at playing both strikeout sides. And I think it's going to be surprising because I think I like more than 5.5 strikeouts for Dylan Cease. This Minnesota Twins team, yeah, they've got some power. They've got some guys who can do some damage. Only a 22.7% K percentage against righties. But Dylan Cease is another pitcher that I like where I could be going more than that. And then Bailey Ober, I don't really even know what to do with. He's kind of got a very limited sample here so far in his big league starts. Can you talk me into what to do with Bailey Ober?
Yeah, so I'm just scrolling through some of the props here and seeing what stands out. So for Bailey Ober, I'm going to say less than 4.5 hits allowed. And the reason is twofold. Number one, I think that Bailey Ober is pretty solid. His minor league numbers are really, really strong. Yeah. And he's considered, a pretty good prospect. He's well regarded. But the other thing also is he's supposedly going to be on pitch count for the entire season. There's at least the plan for now is that they're not going to let him work, more than like 70, 80 pitches in any of his starts, just to be cautious with him. So if you consider those two things, number one, that he's had success this year, 4.22 expected ERA, 4.13 FIP, but then also consider that his pitch counts in his starts this year are pulling this up. So he went 78 pitches last start, but his starts before then, 63 pitches, 73 pitches, 51 pitches, 82. On that kind of a restricted pitch count, if he's not going to be deep into the game, it's kind of hard to give up that many hits. So less than 4.5 seems sensible to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's probably the right way to go on that too. But Dylan Cease, do you kind of agree with him at all? He's somebody that interests me for DFS purposes, I know for sure today across the industry, but kind of adding that to the portfolio of plays here on Monkey Knife Fight. What do you think about Dylan Cease over 5.5, more than 5.5 strikeouts? Yeah,
he's had great strikeout stuff this year, 29.2% K rate. And he's a guy, he was always a really well-regarded prospect, but the results were never really there, even in the minor league level. So last time that we saw him with extended starts in the minor leagues, 2019 in AAA, he had a 4.48 ERA and a 3.79 FIP in AAA. So it's not like he was getting destroyed or anything, but from one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, you definitely expect better than, a 4.48 ERA and a 3.79 FIP at the minor league level. And then he gets called up to the big leagues. Doesn't find a whole lot of success there. 2019, the big leagues, 5.79 ERA, 4.73 expected ERA. Last year for Dylan Cease, 4.01 ERA, 6.7 expected ERA. And strikeouts, he just wasn't able to generate swing and misses at 17.3%. Looks like a totally different guy this year. The stuff is still there. He's throwing hard, 96.3 average fastball velocity, but the walks are way down and the strikeout rate is way up. Generating a lot more swing and misses, 29.2% K rate. just a 9.7% walk rate. So, all that concerned, Dylan Cease does look like a top of the rotation starter right now. And I think that also somebody for, standard DFS contest makes sense. For Monkey Knife Fight purposes also. I would like the more than on some of his props.
Love that. Greg, we're through another show here. This is fantastic. I love playing over a Monkey Knife Fight. It's so easy. Make sure you're using that promo code Awesemo. That's AWESCMO for 100% instant match deposit bonus on your first deposit. That's free money that's put in your account. And if you're trying to build a bankroll, don't be looking at some of the other sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, those other spots make it difficult. If you're trying to put together the bankroll, they can definitely be intriguing for certain prizes, but $100 put into your account instantly over at Monkey Knife Fight. It is really hard to beat that deal across the industry. But Greg, any final words for the people on our way out?
No, just sign up. If you haven't gone to Monkey Knife Fight, like Eric said, just go to monkeyknifefight.com, use promo code Awesemo.
Love it. He's Greg. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck, everybody, and we'll see you later.